Chats. Oh, Jesus. Did I do that? I didn't do that. Why did that play? Hello?
Making a mother of all omelets here, Jack. Can't spread over every egg.
I clicked the wrong thing. I click a lot of the wrong things. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Streamer. Hi, chat. Hi, chat. How are you doing? Who wants highs? Who wants personalized highs? I almost didn't stream today. I'm not going to lie. That is why we are 22 minutes late. I sat here from 10 minutes before regular stream time till 10 minutes after just staring at, what was it? I literally just stared at V-Bridger. I just stared at the V-Bridger model moving on my screen and was like, is today a day off? No, I'm just frustrated. I'm annoyed. And then I saw a post from Twitch this morning that they were like, it was basically the post that came basically down from Twitch was, if you saw a drop in viewership in the past couple weeks, no, you didn't. Motherfucker, what? Huh? And I was just like, okay, this shit feels intentional, Twitch. This shit feels intentional. Because like last night I was basically beating myself up all night because I'm so annoyed that we've essentially lost again. We've basically lost the window of being really close to partner. And then seeing that this morning, it was kind of like a punch drywall moment. I don't punch drywall, but it felt like one of those moments that's just like so much frustration that you want to hit something. And it's just, I don't know, like also hitting 9K recently and then being like running the numbers in my head and being like less than 1% of the people that follow actually come to the stream. And that just kind of sucks. Hi, Wiz. Oh, if you missed what I said about Twitch, Twitch basically released like a statement sometime this morning. And in it, one part basically read like, oh, if you saw a drop in your viewership since Twitch implemented the like new anti-bot stuff, no, you didn't. Just basically nuh-ud. Just nuh-ud. But yeah, it's one of those things that's like, gotta go back to the drawing board, gotta do something else. I guess it's back to shorts. I just kind of got to suck it up and be like, all right, I guess whatever this clip is something that I can mess with, because anytime I look at my own shorts, I'm always just like, I don't know what to do with this one. It happens. It happens. But then I was like, if I don't stream, then I'm probably just going to mope around all day or climb back in bed. The consuming of a person just because they're rich. However, groceries are getting expensive and people are getting hungry. No, I think we should eat people just because they're rich. I think we should eat people because they're rich. Because being rich implies typical exploitation. Especially hyper wealth in the case of multimillionaires. Nobody will miss the rich? Also correct. Who likes short shorts? We love short shorts. Do you like waffles? Hey, we like waffles. But just the top 1,000, just a little taste. It fixes so much. True. But I think we should go for more. I think we should do more. I think we need to eat the top 1,000, and then we need to bring back the labor practices of whenever they don't give their employees fair wages and keep reporting millions upon millions of direct profits. Then you bring the CEO out on the street and beat them like a piñata. No. You're thinking too small, Ordain. You're thinking too small. We're going to eat the top 0.1%. The top 0.1%. Minimum wage needs a brother maximum wage. I agree. That was actually something I saw yesterday that made me laugh, because it was basically a dude that was like, do not fall for the everything is better in Texas. I am telling you, as a person that grew up and lives in Texas, do not come here. They will pitch it all the time as like not living wages. Fucking the cost of living is so much lower. It's so much nicer. It's such a big state. It could almost be its own country, blah, blah, blah. Ignoring the fucking fact that almost every job in Texas still sticks to the federal minimum wage or barely above it. Texas is a goddamn joke. They will sit here and tell you and be like, yeah, cost of living is so much lower in Texas. Yeah, and so is every fucking wage in the state. The job I had part-time at $22 an hour, processing mussels, paid more than the last 3 jobs I had living in Texas combined. I had to think for a second. That is not counting tips. That's not counting tips. I am talking about the base wage that they gave me, the hourly wage. 3 jobs combined, and 2 of those were full-time. But why should we go above minimum? There's already too expensive. Pretty fucking much, dude. Pretty fucking much. Oh my goodness. Not to mention the internet is currently losing its shit over the Minneapolis shooter. So that's not exactly great right now. Saying is no better. They still have the federal minimum wage since 2008. Yeah, Texas has not implemented. Actually, let me double check. Texas minimum wage. Nope, still just the federal minimum wage because they will not raise it higher. Yeah, a lot of states just don't have their own minimum wage. I'm pretty sure, let me double check. Maine minimum wage. Yeah, the Maine state minimum wage is $14.65 an hour. Where I lived, because I worked in a major city, they had a state city ordinance that made minimum wage $20 an hour. And it was awesome. It was fucking awesome. There was a point where they were actually pitching raising certain jobs, like tourist jobs, because this was just after COVID, where they were talking about raising it from $20 to $24 an hour because tourism jobs were going to be marked as hazard jobs because of all the people coming in. Because we also had like a foreign cruise port in our city. There's a lot of French people for some reason. There was a lot of French people that came into town. But when they did that, the guy that owned the business I worked for and a bunch of other business owners on the day that I was working left to go to City Hall to argue against it. While their employees were forced to work and trapped at their jobs, the business owners left to go lobby against it at the City Hall. And when he came back and said that they basically canceled the ordinance, and he had this big smile on his face, me and the coworker that were there just stared at him, just stared daggers into him. No one walked out. I couldn't at that time. I had only like barely started streaming. My average was probably like 10 or less. Eventually we had like a massive falling out and I quit literally after closing one night, left my keys and stuff inside and a note. And it was just, I was fucking done. And we were basically full-time streaming for 6 months. Something close to 6 months. And I was hoping that the full-time streaming at that point was gonna do like a lot better. It didn't. We stagnated at 30. We even tried a partner push at that time. We tried like a fully public partner push and we got literally nowhere. Hi, Pippin. How are you doing? I am terrible. But I'm hoping to fix that today, at least with something to chill out. We were going to do spooky stuff today, but I don't really feel like yelling at like Twink Paranormal or anything today. So I think what we're going to do is I'm going to show y'all at some point the weird shit that I find on Xiaohongshu or the Red Note app because it's fun and it's goofy and I have bad news. Chat, it happens. I have found an AI project that I like. It is very stupid. It is very goofy. And it is actually ASMR that I like. Wheel of Punishment. Okay, that's deserved, honestly, after I just said what I said. More AI slop? This is kind of slop. You'll see, you'll see. The syndrome equivalency. That is timeout target. About how to deal with anxiety? No. No. But you know what? I am really proud of you, Redeem. I am really proud of you for asking. I really am. No, hold on, Ordain. This is the first person that is essentially televangelizing on Twitch, and instead of just coming in and posting something right away, actually asks. That's improvement. I like that. You did. I like it, Red. Thank you. Squats. Oh no. Oh no. But thank you, Red. I'm not going to ban you. I'm not going to do anything of that sort. But I think most of us are good on the Bible verse about anxiety. But thank you for asking. It's always AI slop. What about the good AIs that don't slop? Name an AI that doesn't slop. Where you run into Ordain. Where you run into Buddy. A calculator? Nah, that doesn't count as AI, my dude. Well, technically, I guess what they're calling AI, I guess technically would also make a calculator AI, because it really is mostly just fucking programs and stuff doing their jobs. Also, hold on a second. I think I know why it did that. Oh, because it was still turned on. That's why. Duh.
No.
Yeah. Anyway. About as close as you'll get without slop. Hi, Fairbanks. How are you doing? Also, wait a second. Who rolled the Wheel of Punishment again? It was Lucian. Did Lucian ever give us a target? There's Wheel of Punishment. No, Lucian did not. Lucian, who do you want to time out? I'm good. All moved in. Hell yeah. Extra comf. Extra comf now. Is it still the same layout? The only AI I like is that AI that made to detect breast cancer. Oh, that's interesting. Coffee Possums, how are you doing? Ba-ba-ba-bum. What the hell? Okay. All right, I need to do these squats. So give me just a second. Get out of here, chair. All right. It is some sustainable or something AIs though, +1 on that. Well, the thing is that it doesn't exist yet, and the necessary computing power for AI data centers is a net environmental negative. And it's gonna take a fucking lot to make a data center fucking carbon neutral. All right, let's do these 20 squats real quick. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. Okie dokie. All AI art is slop. I agree. The thing is, this weird one I found is basically somebody keeps making videos of people cutting things. It is ASMR videos, AI generated ASMR videos of people cutting various items in half. And it is so weirdly satisfying. I can't. Do y'all want to see this? Do y'all want to see this now since we're talking about it instead of later? I don't want to time out Ordain every time. All right, did you say somebody else? Did I miss it? Queens? All right, Queens, last words. Queens, what are your last words? How come you get that one twice? Listen, I spun it, it landed on it. I had it coming. I fear nothing. He had it coming. You'll be remembered, boss man. You will be remembered. All right. Let me go to the screen really quick. Screen time, screen time. Where's my screen button? There it is. All right. Internet capture. Chinese characters. Boom. And you can already see what I'm talking about. There's literally 2 of them right here. Real quick, let me make sure I change the audio setting. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to... Okay, it's already actually pretty high. All right. We'll do the rose one because this is more like what all of them are. Oh. The fuck? Wait, I already logged in. Hold on. I literally logged in before I started stream. So I don't know what the fuck this is. That's why it was showing my recommended stuff. Oh, why do you do this to me? Phone. Phone. Confirm login. Account logged out. What do you mean? Wait, I'm so confused. What the fuck? Oh my God. Oh my God. It's... And then it won't... Oh, fuck it. Okay, we're signed in on the computer. That's all that matters. Not the stupid glass one, but it's so cool. It gives me the brain tickles. This is the only ASMR I've ever enjoyed in my life, and I hate it. Also, hold on. Why is the fucking full screen broken? Like, they're really stupid at times because you can. They're obviously AI. The accounts are almost always AI. This is not my homepage. Okay, hold on. This is not my homepage. I don't want Discover. This doesn't look like the stuff that I usually see. Okay, maybe a little bit. I don't know why it changed so much. They're all gone. The AI slop is gone. Am I actually logged in? No, I'm not. It fucking logged me out. Why? What the fuck? But like, wouldn't chopping carrots or something give you the same kind of head tingles? No, because it does glass noises. There's also metal ones. Weirdly enough, there's metal ones. Hold on. Why is this? Wait, did it sign me back? Is that baby no money? Holy shit, it is. I just opened it on my phone and the first recommended was fucking baby no money. Whammon? What whammon? What? What is it? Where? What? Oh, you're right. That's fine. The thing is it doesn't work. The only on stream, no, it's fine because the only thing it'll do is you have to be signed into my account, scan this QR code, and then it'll sign into the account that you scan it with. So if somebody scanned this on stream, all it would do is log me into their account. Scuff is scuff. Oh no, it's like. I was gonna say, if somebody wants to log in, that's on them, because all it's gonna do is give me their account and I'll know exactly who did it. So like, hold on a second. Oh, it sent me a code. Okay. don't know why it signed me out. Security protection activated. Account risk detected. Go to verify. Why are you like this? Real name verification. Oh, I can't even do that. It only lets you do it with like mainland China stuff. Okay. It said like mainland China or like permanent residence card. All right, let's see if we can do this right this time. Log in, damn you. Gotta wait a second because it does one of those goofy countdown things. Oh, okay, interesting. Double QR code. Double QR scan in. Okay. Okay. Maybe this just wasn't something that they... What the fuck is that? Oh. Okay, we're back. Okay, it's loaded. Also, there's another thing that they've been doing that I don't understand, and there's more examples of it. Look at this shit. Okay, wait, here's the metal one that I was talking about. It gives me the brain tingles. Can't. Fuck. This is the only ASMR I like. 0 out of 10. I know. I know. Negative 100. You can't go negative on these scores. But it's also like this part, this one I don't understand. There's these weird jam ones where they do this shit. They like pour, shake things out of jars and then smash them into things. Some trash slop. I know. I know. But I like the sound of the marbles and the tinking. Looks gross. Fuck if I know, dude. It doesn't make any sense. Let me see if I can find, oh, good lord. You ever wanted to cut rebar, but it sounds like bread? Does it make sense? No. Did listen to actual ASMR? No, that shit sounds like ass. Or I have to listen to the most annoying women on the internet. This is worse. It's definitely worse. I was gonna say, it's definitely worse. Wait, worse than the fucking... I can't stand fucking people whispering in my ear. I hate it. I hate it so much. Desk. The music back. Okay. ASMR sucks. I agree. Mouth sounds are the worst. Completely agree. The fucking mouth sounds, the fucking clicking, the whispering in my ear, or the weird breathing in my ear is so much worse. Listen, I have a bunch of friends that do ASMR, and oh my God. Chats, Chat, I take it back. Look in media share. Oh no. Oh no, what have you put in media share? All right, hold your horses. How much copper is 100 kilograms? Wait, what the fuck? What the fuck? ASMR metal melting? Oh my God. Okay. Hold on. Okay. Okay. That weird sound of a person's tongue constantly coming in and out of contact with the rest of their mouth and you hear their saliva popping. Exactly. Exactly. Also, hold on. I'm going to show you the thing I just found. Because I scrolled ever so slightly and got the bowl, chat. The bowl. It's an unagi rice bowl. It's unagi dan. Too fucking bad. I was looking at Discord. No, shut up. I want the bowl. Ah! Gotta get those macros somehow. Gotta get those macros somehow, baby. Fucking eel is so good, dude. I'm so upset I can't get it anywhere near me. Well, I can. There's one restaurant and it's fucking $16 and it's the world's smallest bowl. And I hate it. Crispy. Crispy. Oh, I clicked the wrong thing. Hold on a second. I gotta wait for the innovations to finish. All right. All right. Yeah, rice bowl. But yeah, most of the time on here, I watch like food videos and stuff. But sometimes Xiao Hongshu gets really weird with, what the fuck is that? Okay, that's definitely another AI cutting video. It just looks like tuna or fish meat of some kind, but it's almost completely clear. That's really weird. That's really weird. That's okay, yeah. Okay. Ever consider making it yourself? Which part? ASMR? Have I considered it? Yes. Never tried eel. It's really good, Nizumi. I highly recommend it. Have I tried? Yes, I've had it before. The first time I had it was in, I'm fine telling y'all like the cities and stuff. When I went to college, I was in Corpus Christi. But I went to a place there called Makoto's, I believe. I believe it's called Makoto's, if I remember correctly. And on their menu, they have meal sets. And on one of them is the unagi jun, which was a meal set with unagi dan as the primary part. Makoto's? No, I think it's Mikoto. Yeah, it still exists. It's Makoto's Ramen Bar. Makoto Ramen Bar. When I went there, it was brand spanking new. And they have unagi jun on their menu. Let me see if I can actually find a picture of it. I'm sure I can. It was also the first place I ever had takoyaki. Trying to see if I can find. They do also have a soft shell crab bun, which is really good. I'm trying to scroll. But it looks like most people are getting like the appetizers or the ramen. They had really good ramen too. I don't see anybody getting any of the dish sets. Oh, that's new. That's a curry bowl. I don't remember them having a curry bowl when I was there. Maybe they did. Maybe I just never had it. Oh, here's the menu. We can do the menu. Wait. No, it's not on there. Why can't I find any images? Did they get rid of it? Is it gone? Is it no longer on the menu? Here, let's go to their website. Click order online. There's a rice bowl section. Gyudon, pork char siu, teriyaki, tonkatsu, pokidan, chicken curry don. Is it under taishoku? No. I think they got rid of it. I don't think they have it anymore. Yeah, because there used to be a section that was like meal sets. And it's not here at all. And Indian curry and Thai curry. I think I just love curry. Curry is so good, dude. Curry with some good rice. There's nothing not to love. Let me see if it's maybe customizable. Nope. Oh, no, wait, there it is. Unagi-jun. So it's under the build your own taishoku now. Okay. It's $12. That's actually really good. Because the size that I remember them giving was really good. Oh, here it is. I wish I could get a better picture, but can I zoom in a little bit? Okay, let me bring the screen up. It's this right here. Now, this doesn't look that big, but the box itself, when it's in front of you, is a pretty decent amount. And it's only $12. I say only. That's a good price. That's a good price for eel. Especially because down here, this is the taishoku section where you can like customize it. You get like a bunch of sides and stuff. And usually, whenever I got it, the meal deal came with like pickles and like side salad and a bunch of other stuff. And it was really good. I like this place. That was the first Japanese place I'd ever actually been to. That was specifically Japanese because there's not one in my hometown. It just didn't exist, and I never got to have straight from basically actual authentic Japanese food until college. You don't get to eat the food you enjoy until for college. Until for college. Not until for college. Enjoy your lurk, queens. Martin. What about Martin? Who did what about Martin? What do you want about? I think we did this before where we realized they removed it off the menu when we watched a Japanese food video a while back. Did we? Martin arriving circuit. God damn it. God damn it. Unsubs from the Carnival ASMR channel. We don't have an ASMR channel and we never will. $1 mil? What do you mean 1 mil? Did I say something that sounded like 1 mil? I don't know if I did. Also, hold on a second. Oh, that's definitely another AI SMR. I thought that was one of the dessert channels I liked. Damn it. Damn it. Upsetty spaghetti. I thought that was one of the cake ones that I had saved. Okay then. You discovering your girlfriend ASMR fans hunger for more? Oh no. I'm pretty sure that's still the most watched. Who did it? Who did it? Which one of you sons of bitches did it? I see you, you anonymous bastard. What do you mean got him? Trying to check it, see if I can check like how much it was. Because I know we were over 50%, but now we're at 59%. Activity? No. Okay. Don't look at me, wasn't me. I believe that. That was just a contribution. If it had been finished, I would have been deeply concerned because there's still like almost $1,000 to that. Well, hold on. It's at 59% now. So it's closer to like 800. It's closer to 800. I'm trying to remember how to get to my... Can I translate this, please? The app has like an English version of it, but there we go. I'm trying to figure out how to get to like the things that I like liked and followed and stuff. Yes. The food. Take a wild guess. I fucking knew it! Curse you so bad. Actually, hold on. I can do better. Curse you so back. Anyway. I was gonna say, the second it popped up, I was very tempted to just say, curse you, Sobek, but I was like, wait, no, I need to prove it. I need to prove it. It's way more funny to prove it first. Me when the Nile floods? Listen, it's kind of funny. It is kind of funny. Chat, do I dare show you all of the food videos that I've saved off Xiaohongshu? That I am, in fact, going to force Faye to help me cook. Especially the cheesecakes. Urbanization, sobriety, Ekins 56. Amazing. Amazing. Xiaohongshu, Red Note. Red Note. I am definitely like Americanizing how you pronounce it quite a bit. But it's also that the website to go to is spelled out Xiaohongshu. So you can't just put it, you can Google search Red Note to find it. But it's the website itself is Xiaohongshu, which is basically just the little red book. Is essentially what that means. If you want the app on your phone, I'm pretty sure it's under Red Note. I'm pretty sure it's called Red Note. Yeah, it's Red Note. You just know they reversed the banning of TikTok just to make Americans look competent. The thing is, there's still tons of Americans on this app. And it's still really fun. I really enjoy it over here. But I recently came back to TikTok just so that I could get like some more like something to scroll. I don't know why I do this to myself. I really don't. It's probably not. It's definitely not good for me. But my favorite is Xiaohongshu because I like the food videos. Almost all of my likes are food videos. Or something I save because I like the music that's in it. Ah, yes. Sperm whales. Oh, right. The blueberry cheesecake cookies. Chat, do you want to see blueberry cheesecake cookies? Oh, some of these I saved. Okay, those aren't really relevant. Yes, please. Yes, please. All right. All right. We all need a little bit of, what's the word? Palate cleanser. All right, chat. Here's my account. I like that it's 15 concern. But this is a lot of the stuff that I look at. It's all like food stuff is what I save. This other thing, you see this lady here who looks like she's doing some workout. The only reason I saved it is because I really like the song that it goes with. And it does this thing for some reason on a desktop where it freezes at the ends, like the last second. Apparently she's a dancer. She's a professional dancer, and I think if I remember correctly. Pause that. Yeah, she does like a lot of vlogging and stuff. And she does a lot of videos where she does the same thing, where it's like these little bit of workouts. But I just like the music in here because it felt like it was pretty good. It was really bumping. Looks fake to me. When she splits and it's just like a straight line from toe to toe. Flexibility. Anyway, here's the cheesecake cookies. All I dream of is with the recipe. All I long for is... Hey chat, you want the recipe? The whole recipe, chat? Asbestos cookies? Are you trying to say asbestos cookies? And darling, something tells me that's enough. Here, do y'all want me to screen grab like sections of this and put it in the Discord for y'all? Were you trying to spell asbestos? That's asbestos. Smile, one kiss, cookies. I need the recipe. I can give you all the video too. Oh wait, no, I forgot that anytime you try to share these, it gives you an obnoxiously large link. Okay, give me a second. I'm gonna put it in media share.
All I dream of is your eyes.
Down to 8. Down to 15. Again, this is also translated. So it may not be perfect. All right. It's in 4 sections in the Discord. So if you want to go get it, I recommend probably actually either taking the images and saving them or typing them all up. Oh, you know what? I think I could have done that. Could I do that? I could do that. Here, let's do this. All right, to where it ends. Control C. Boom. There's now a wall of text in the Discord. In the Discord. Okay. Then we don't need the images. I can delete the images. All right. There we go. But I have a lot of things saved in here, like the sandwich.
Garlic butter soy chicken is so good even after. And coming in at 550 calories and 30 grams of protein, I could eat this every day.
My macros, bro, my macros.
Using soy, honey, and garlic. The only major change I did was I used a
Text
brown
Wolf
sugar
band
blend
weight.
over regular brown sugar, and it saved me some calories. Someone gave me some great advice to eat watermelon at nighttime to fight off cravings. Who knew how full a watermelon can make you feel? I love all
That's
the
probably
tips
not a
you guys
bad
give me.
idea.
It gives me so much motivation, and I'm always looking forward to the next one. So please give me any tips you got.
That shit looks
I read every
awesome.
comment, and
That's
see you
all about
guys in the next one.
micros? What do you mean about micros? What micros? Also here, this one was weird to me.
Everything sucks. Just kidding. Everything's great. No, I haven't thought about my ex today.
Cookies and cream chat? Cookies and cream cups? Oh, yo, Oreo toilets!
Outside
Listen, it's fine. I've never seen a dessert like this. So when I saw it, I was like, I'm saving this shit. I'm saving this shit. So it's basically like gelatinized Oreo pudding? Seems to be the case.
haven't thought about my ex today.
Cocoa powder. A little bitty Oreo.
Fuck, I just did.
Yeah, I think that's what it seems like to me whenever I watch this, living out your cooking arc. I wish. Almost every one of these things requires me to get like a new appliance at some point. Like I don't have the molds for that one. I can make brownies though. I can make brownies. The thing is though, every time I want to make these kinds of desserts and stuff, there's a lot of time between buying the ingredients, getting home, starting to make them, baking them, and then them being ready to eat, where I can talk myself out of it because I'm like, oh, this is just like a whole bunch of sugar and chocolate, and I'm trying to be in shape. We're getting these in the Marion Social win. After the move. How does that sound? After the move, I will try to do more cooking. You hit the gym 4 times a week? What do you mean? I gotta do better. I want abs at least one day in my life. But I eat like garbo and like fucking fat like sit around my stomach more than anywhere else. So you can eat like shit? Yeah, but that's still in moderation. And only occasionally. Wait, that's where it ends? I didn't realize that's where it ends. What the fuck? Oh, well. Oh, well. Some of these I know I've shown y'all before because I haven't really added anything new. Oh, yes. The blueberry cheesecake. Red Dead Reaver, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Of the beauty industry, wake up, sheeple, but I want to have a tight, cool tummy. Let me have my things. Yes, the Vicky's one of those occasions. Okay. Lemon juice. Also, I just realized how loud this is in OBS. Wait. Dried white beans? I'm trying to read the inside of that bowl. It has like instructions inside the bowl. Lemon, lime, lime, lemon, 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 lime, lime. What? You put the lime in the coconut and shake it all up. Chat, I have to make sure because we had somebody last week. Those are huge blueberries. Okay. Blueberries are fucking purple. Yeah. Oh, it's dense too. That's a good, that's one of the first things I saved. It's way down here. Way down here. Oh, and of course the person that goes diving a whole bunch that I like watching. This channel goes live basically every fucking night. They got big ass blue biddies in China. Apparently. Apparently. But yeah, this is basically just a guy that goes around and scoops up seafood. Various sea creatures. And he does it almost every night because I know he does it almost every night because I get notifications when he goes live. Because he's one of the few, goodness, one of the few channels I follow. I also think it's very funny because up here where the follow button is in English on the this one, it says attentioned. He has been attentioned. Taking up cooking? Well, I always like cooking. I just don't like cooking in generally like other people's kitchen. So I haven't really done a lot of cooking since I've been living where I am. Especially because when I want to like cook dinner or anything, they always get snarky with me. If I like try to cook something or anything, they'll be like, well, did you make some for us? Or if I'm making something for myself that I didn't expect them to be home, they'll be like, well, when are you gonna make something for us? And it drives me up the wall. Or they poke at whatever I'm doing to make me nervous. He just stole that fishy guy. He yoinks a lot of little critters. Did you buy the ingredients for yourself? Well, the thing is, they make enough food and typically let me have some too. But usually I'll be making, it's usually when they surprise me when like nobody's home and then suddenly they show up and I'm like, well, shit, now they're gonna fucking poke fun. Or when I have made stuff for them, which I did because I don't think it was on this app. No, it was on TikTok. I made like some bulldog cheesy chicken that was fucking awesome. And they didn't want to have any of it. They didn't want to try any of it. Did you make some for us? Cook your own damn food. Socialist is America here? Oh my God. You say that in here like I'm not wearing red for a certain... No, I'm kidding. It's because red's my favorite color. I'm trying to remember this. This was... Oh, this is one of the things that I sent to Sai and Faye because they told me that one of their family members doesn't like potatoes. And I was like, make them this! Because this looks awesome. Fill it full of cheese. Cheesy croquettes, anyone? Look out for the fake tan. What do you mean fake tan? I would never get a fake tan. Not once in hell. But yeah, I have a few things in here. Oh, also this. I just really like this musician. I would cosign? Oh my God. But you spelled cosign like it was the fucking math thing. I would never tan. No, I used to tan really well. I would like to have more time where I'm like home alone that I could go outside because there's a pool in the backyard. But usually by the time I finish stream, there's no telling when somebody's gonna show up. So I usually try to sneak it in when I have extra time early in the morning. The sun is bad, evil sun. Giant man, rotate wiener stand. What do you mean rotate wiener stand? What does that mean? Anyway, Anyway, going back to the desk. We're going back to the desk, nerds. The sun is a deadly laser. Anyway, we're probably not going to look at more Xiao Hongshu today, I don't think. I don't think everybody wants to look at the Red Note or food videos the entire time since we did that Tuesday. Oh no. Oh no. I just scrolled down on YouTube and the first thing I see is fucking Twin Paranormal 3 days ago at the Minnesota Demon House. Scariest 24 hours of our lives. Goofy. Wait, they actually added a new tag to their thumbnail. Why? We enjoy when you share your interests. I try my best. I try my best. Fucking grids in the Discord. TLDR, make cheesecake. There you go, grins. There's your fucking TLDR. Returned my glasses because glasses. Because we were talking about stuff. I usually wear the glasses at the beginning of the stream. I just realized I wasn't wearing them. Although we are going to have an ad break in a minute, so we're going to get words on stream today. Make sure that loads up. And then it should be good to go whenever the ad break starts. Fair enough. No further questions, Your Honor. You goddamn right. You goddamn right. Hold on a second. Who is this? Hold on. I saw somebody working on a model and now I have to see who this is. Oh, I see. Okay. All right. All right. All right. All right. And then people just post button titty. Ugh. Okay. Okay. Wait, what is this? Ah, okay. I see. Somebody's spouting nonsense about Visojo, even though they were apparently known for harassing the old Visojo girls. Fucking button boobin. No, titten boobin. This is titten boobin. You say that like you don't like ass and titty? I do, and I post it on occasion, but I don't know. When it feels like it's the only non-stream announcement stuff that you post, it feels low effort and gross. That's only to me. That's only to me. Other people have their own qualms and their own standards. But to me, I'm always just like, oh, I don't want to do that. I don't want to post. I don't want to tit and boobin all over the place when I'm not live. But at the same time, I don't feel like I'm funny. I'm not the kind of funny to make memes. Like, I'm terrible at making memes. Okay, hold on. I need a drink of water. That's true, but I talked about it yesterday. What was it? I was like, we start doing the fucking like horny posting. And then from there, we just beat the chatters into shape. We do the tit and boob and bamboozlin', and then we just beat them with a stick into proper chatters. It's all about the memes. Sup, Bouse? How you doing, Lucian? Yes, Bouse. Whatever you say, Bouse. Bambooblin. Yeah, Bambooblin. Not like they can leave the mod basement. I mean, Carrie works now. And Sunstar, I'm pretty sure works. It's just like, usually I start stream, I guess, after his work. Their work. Mm. Okay. Almost had a bonk there. God damn it, Beef. Jonking it, boss. No! All right, get the hammer. Sunstar, get the hammer. Provide for your 9,000 children? Yeah, apparently I need to provide for my 9,000 children in order to get them to come back. All right, so we have the ad break, so screen time, kids. Screen time. That's fine. That was... God damn it, Lumi. God damn it, Lumi. Luckily, it was censored and it wasn't naked. This is the downside when I forget to turn off the internet capture on the screen. It's fine. It's fine. I honestly didn't even see that there because I was looking at the Miranda video. I was looking at the Miranda video more than anything before I realized I was like, wait, and I was looking at it on OBS. I was like, that's not wholesome. That's part of the downside with a lot of like scrolling Twitter so much is I get desensitized and don't always realize what every post is on the screen. Oh. Oh, wow. Bloodlines 2 added a character that's just like the late night radio. The Bet of Nights. Oh, good Lord. Pillow Talk, hot news, sweet nothings. Every AM, 1 a.m. to 5 a.m. Flashback to the not safe for work post on stream and we had to nuke it. True. Listen, it happens, okay? Oh, Dead by Daylight's 2v8 has been extended till September 9th. Nice. Nice. Wait, why? Why did they extend it? Wait. If you haven't already, now's the time to give our Play While You Wait beta a try. When you queue to play as killer, you'll get invited to play a survivor match while you wait. After your survivor match, you'll be back in your spot in the queue for the killer match. What? Hold on, I'm trying to figure out why. Oh, okay. It's because queues are getting longer for killers, I guess. That seems to be the case. Okay, I suppose. We'll do one more round. All right. Thank you for the self-care, Adeptus. All right. Can't catch me. Can't bonk me if you can't catch me. I don't know. Have you ever seen Sunstar? You ever seen Sunstar run? No? Yeah, because he doesn't need to run. It's fine. It's fine. Oh, here's the thing on the Twitch thing. Quote, viewership is by no means in decline or in free fall, and there has been misinformation. Sure. Sure. Whatever you say, boss. Ooh, I'm glad I didn't have the thing open for that. I just scrolled past somebody's fucking 3D render of a penis. Jesus. Wait. Mega Halucha is out? Bro, this thing looks like ass. This thing looks like ass. What the fuck? Yeah, people are already on the Mucha Lucha. Are already on the Mucha Lucha memes. Literally the top 2 comments are a gif of Mucha Lucha and then the title card of Mucha Lucha. It kind of looks like ass, dude. It looks like he had a basic costume change. I'll show you in a second. I will show you in a second. Let's it's literally behind it now. It's just Rey Mysterio. Actually, maybe. Perchance, what is Mucha Lucha? Mucha Lucha was a Cartoon Network TV series about, imagine the entire world was luchador wrestling. And it was basically about 3 kids that went to a like middle school or high school or something. You can actually see it here on the side in just a second. Here, let me put words away. There's fucking, this is Mucha Lucha on the right here. This is also the GIF of it. It was a very classic Cartoon Network series. Yeah, this is Halucha. This is what he normally looks like. He got some colors. That's fucking it. Is it based off that? No, this is the official one. Luchador wrestling is the real thing. The cartoon is based off of luchadors. Halucha is based off of luchadors. Mega Halucha is double the luchador? I guess it is. I don't know. It's something. It's certainly something. All right, let me put this away. Only good mega of this whole set? What do you mean? Listen, I think the what was it? Spooky time? I thought we were gonna do spooky time today, Jamie. I don't know if I have it in me for spooky time. Megas XLR. Mega Victory Bell is super full of soup. He's so good. I like Victory Bell. I think Victory Bell looks great. I really do. Oh God, we posted it. It's just like, welcome to the team. Oh, I hate it. It's basically nothing though. There's like no changes. It's on par with just giving fucking Ampharos big hair. Mega Victory Bell is someone's autoerotic asphyxiation kink? Okay, yeah, technically. Okay, yeah, you have a point there. You do have a point there. I will give you that. What are we doing today? That's just it. I'm not entirely sure. Lokisha, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you doing? I mean, we could do Twin Paranormal. We do have their newest video here. Or we could do something else, but I'm just not sure. Shut up. Just immediately started screaming as soon as the video started. Also, hold on. Jesus. Mega Halucha's legit luchador costume upgrade. It's completely on theme with the Pokemon. I guess. I just wanted cooler stuff for Mega Evolutions. Again, I still say that fucking Mareep should have never gotten up on 2 legs. Mareep should have just become a bigger and bigger electric sheep. I saw the trailer for Jackbox Party Pack 11. All original games and no sequels. They're up to 11? Jesus, dude. I did not realize they were up to 11. I want a book version of Applin. Give me Booklin. A book version? I mean, all of the Applins, all the Apple ones are still Apple themed. I don't think you're going to get a book version. Even if you do pull something that's like bookworms. Yeah, that's what I figured the shtick was. But it's less around worm. The worm is secondary only to the apple part. Apple is primary, worm is secondary, but everything else is just a variant on those 2 combinations. I didn't get a notification. I'm sorry, fake. But welcome in. Oh no. What is this? What is cocoa butter? The channel cocoa butter. White versus black. We try each other's barbecue. Taste wars. Huh? Okay. I can tell you which one's better. They've made convergent evolutions. It's possible. What if it was a book on apples? Okay, make that make sense. Where does the applin? It would have to evolve from something. Like, it would have to be how... Let me see. Let me find the applin. Applin evolution. Line. I need, like, all of them. That's not it. That's only the original. Yeah, Diplin. I was gonna say, if they wanted to make a book one... You know, I really don't know. I'm really not sure how they would fit it in. Well, they did do the like applin to diplin to hydrapple. Again, banger line. Absolutely banger line. I still haven't got a shiny applin, and I'm not gonna lie, I've been trying to farm a fucking shiny applin for a long time. It has not happened. I have not found one. Same thing with shiny Maroops and what's the other one? There's another one. Oh, shiny Smoliv. I've been trying to farm find shiny Smolivs in my free time. I have not gotten a single one through 6 fucking sandwiches. It makes as much sense as Trubbish technically being a cat. What? What? No. Wait, what? Game Freak claims Trubbish is a cat. Okay, everything that's coming up is people being like, there ain't no way Trubbish is a cat. And with like everybody being confused and making videos about it. Apparently it's because I guess they released a video of a bunch of the cat Pokemon like playing around and Trubbish was in it. Diplin mega evolves to Dippin' Dots. We need to stop letting Game Freak write. I don't know, man. I've had a weird urge recently too to go back and play like some more classic Pokemon games. But I'm really upset because the handheld thing that I bought that's supposed to have like basically all of the Pokemon games on it doesn't turn on anymore. Yes, the garbage bag Pokemon. Apparently, according to Game Freak, it is, in fact, a cat. Oh, God damn it. Hold on. I need to swap things real quick. Hey, we're 1 away from 400 subs on YouTube. Even though I don't upload anything. I'm my own worst enemy. I did nothing and I'm failing. Why do I do this to myself? Anyway, I thought they said it was a rabbit. I can see it kind of sort of being a weird rabbit. But apparently it's a cat, that somebody said. And when I looked it up, there's a lot of posts talking about people being like, Trubbish is a cat? Apparently Trubbish is a cat. That's so weird. You can beat Marin. Marin, I'm my own worst enemy. I'm my own worst enemy. Bon appetit. A day at Hawaii's butcher shop making the world's best spam. Oh my God, do we have bougie spam now? Trubbish is a goober. Trubbish is a goober. The thing is, I've never like... What was it? I never, like, I would catch Trubbish for, like, the Pokédex. I have never once used a Trubbish, ever. Not even a little bit. Is it possible, do people do Nuzlocks in, like, the newer games? The, like, with the rules that's, like, you have to catch the first Pokemon you come across in, like, a zone? Does that still apply to the ones where... What was it? Does that still apply to the games where they're like visible in the overworld? Maybe someday we'll do that. Maybe someday we'll do that. Z King, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. How are you doing? But I'm trying to see if there's anything interesting. But the thing is, it almost always comes down to food is what a lot of my feed is. Other than it being stuff that I like watching on my own. The worst story in food history. How sugar destroyed everything. Ooh. Chat, I don't think you want to go on a rant with me on why sugar is the enemy of mankind. For what it has become. Norway's wild salmon problem. What? Get a Marin lock going? Fructose. No, this is glucose. Kono, what are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? What shenanigans are you up to? Are you trapped at work? You're trapped at work, aren't you? I prefer maltose. Oh, no. Oh, good Lord. Maybe watching that one video. I watched one video in my free time. That was just a dude going to like... what was it? Las Vegas's like biggest or like most known buffets. And now I keep getting videos on buffets. And I hate it. I hate it. The rise of anti-sexuality movements. 1924, Kellogg's Cornflakes. 2025, No Nut November. Christ. Three days ago from the Tellurian Community College, why did Magic the Gathering products go away? Bitch, what the fuck do you mean? Wizards of the Coast releases more fucking products monthly than they did when I was in fucking high school in a year. I'm happy you could make it 400. Let's go. Let's go. Oh, wait, did it just tell me? Oh, no, it didn't. It was giving me notifications for shit. Because I have one of these programs that sometimes tells me like when a milestone is hit. No, please, I can't have Kellogg's again. It's too bad. Too bad. You were going to get Kellogg's. Ooh. I'm going to save that for later for myself. Magic show or real foods? I tried US's iconic bucket list restaurant, Alinea. I don't think I even want to watch this because fine dining drives me up the goddamn wall. What's a Kellogg? Don't worry about it. You're not American. You don't need to think about it. The Fortnitification of MTG is exhausting. I completely agree. It's why I don't play it anymore. A milestone was hit in Route 66. Do you know where your self-driving car is tonight? Wait. We have Kellogg's in the UK? I figured you did because, well, Kellogg's is a global brand and one of the companies that owns the majority of cereal companies around the globe. Green chicken... Oh, the mascot for cornflakes. That stops you junking. Yeah, obviously it works. It totally works. Apparently we talked about being on Xiaohongshu too much, and now my feed has a whole bunch of like Chinese food things. Chinese breakfast. What do Chinese eat for breakfast? Breakfast series across China. Jillin. Buns, baby. Buns. The day America finally starts selling meat buns in convenience stores, it's over for me, dude. Please, I beg you, give me the conveni food. It's so good. It's so easy. I've never jonked to a bowl of cornflakes. No, cornflakes are to keep you from jonking it. Just prove that, Kellogg. It's not to jonk to the bowl. The Kellogg's bowl is supposed to stop you from jonking it. Kellogg's mascot is a rooster? No, no, no. The cornflakes. The cornflakes box mascot is a green rooster. I disagree on the universes beyond being a problem. The problem is how rapidly they release them. They should be like one set every 6 months, not every other set, especially when there's a set every month. Not to mention the number of collector's editions that they release each month. They literally release multiple versions of collector's cards every month. And they create a like FOMO effect by making them extremely limited. That is such a good emote. Hi, Broth. Why are we yelling at today? The Kellogg's and their anti-Jonkinette cereal. We're not really yelling at much today. And the fact that the Game Freak apparently says Trubbish is a cat. That is what chat was yelling at. We were looking at like desserts and stuff earlier. The thing is, though, is I don't know what we're going to do the rest of today. Europe's biggest cake factory, the secrets of mass cake production. I mean, if you just wanted to know what mass cake production looks like, we have Broth right here. Broth is the master of mass cake production. You ever seen how much he spits out in a day? It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Coming next on Universes Beyond Great Gatsby, you're lying. You're lying. You better be lying. It scares me. Just your own production of cake scares you. You could always do more cake. There can always be more cake, Broth. And I don't mean sheer number of cakes. I mean sheer size of cakes. You know what you have to do, Broth. You know what you have to do. Just need more chrome tube. Just need more chrome, baby. That's all you need. That's all you need, baby. Just more chrome. You're built different, aren't you? You're built different, ain't you? I'm here to screw over Hasbro's Google search results analytics team. Wait, what? You're here? Is it because I'm a Wizards of the Coast hater? Certified hater, baby. It'd be funny if at this point I started having, oh, what was it? I started having like those goofy ass certificate memes that people make where I just have like, I'm constructed in a way that's different from those around me. Are you built different? Are you built stupid? Or what's the difference? What's our difference here? Are you built better? Built stupid? Built incorrect? Or just different? I built horngry. Oh no, not the horngry. Built horngry. Oh my goodness. Just to make people search Magic the Gathering Great Gatsby set? Let Hasbro think there's organic demand? All right, everybody in chat right now, right fucking now. I need every single one of you to go into your Google search bar and put in Magic the Gathering Great Gatsby set. Do it right now. You would be surprised as if every person in this chat, at least half the people in this chat would probably be able to affect it. Yes, you have to use Google. Built like a brick shit house, are you? Sometimes I look in the mirror after I come back from the gym and I'm like, damn, maybe I am built like a brick shit house. My torso is kind of wide. Well, like proportionately wide. I'm not that wide in general. I need the what's the one like walking music? I have to use Google. You have to use Google for this, kids. And report back once you've done it. Because I think it'd be funny. I need it. I need it to happen. I need it to happen, and it'll be even funnier in like a week's time if it comes around and somebody's like, are they making a Great Gatsby set? Why is this on Google? Oh no. The earliest example of us eventually creating a fucking ARG. Wait a second. Did they release a new trailer for the next Digimon game? Yeah, 1 day ago, Bandai Namco. Story trailer. Ooh, do we dare? Do we dare? We need to trick Google's AI by posting about this. Yeah, I'm avoiding it. I don't want spoilers. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to see it. Yo, Isekai Digimon, let's go! Yeah, that's my plan at some point, is to get a Switch too. I think I'll be able to afford it with some of the moving expenses I have set aside during the move. Millionaire meat pie? What the fuck? Oh no, $700 British meat pie? Fuck that. Fuck that shit entirely, dude. I searched up on 4 different ones. Okay, hold on, I gotta do the same thing. And Magic the Gathering. Great Gatsby set. You know what's weird? I put that in, and the second thing that comes up is r/Magic TCG. This is a pretty weird question, but are there any circus-themed MTG cards? Okay. Okay. I guess. I suppose. Whatever you say. Are the British at it again? The British are in fact at it again. I always feel like somebody's watching me. All right. Chats. We can do food today to relax and chill to. We can do paranormal twinks. Oh God, that was loud. Oh God, that was loud. Or, okay, hold on. I need water. Hey, Britain. No, thank you. Listen, I'm sure some of the food is all right, but I am like 99% sure every other country makes whatever Britain makes 100 times better. Any regular like British meal is definitely made better somewhere else. It's all right because it's not ours? True. True. The Brits perfected breakfast? Ooh. Ooh, you may be onto something there. A full British breakfast is pretty fucking stellar. Even if Israel tries to steal it. But you know, how's it feel, Britain? How's it fucking feel? Hard disagree? Which part? I'll give them that and only that. Listen, a full English breakfast is pretty good. English breakfast. Let me make sure I get everything on it proper. Images. Let's see. All right, we got our sausages. We got 2 different kinds of sausages, actually. We got our beans. We got our hams and or meats and or bacons. We got our eggs, tomatoes, and mushrooms. That's a pretty good breakfast. You get all the proteins, carbs, and vitamins you need. It's pretty good. It's a pretty good balanced breakfast. Country breakfast is far better. What'd you describe a country breakfast as? The like pancakes, meats, potatoes, sausage, bacon, and eggs? Is that what you mean by a country breakfast? I'm sorry, flapjacks. Those are flapjacks. But country breakfast has British roots. It is very identical to a, what was it? To a British breakfast or an English breakfast. It just adds in the flatbacks and the potatoes. Flatbacks? Flatbacks? Why the fuck did I say that? Flatbacks? What the fuck does that mean? Slapjacks? Nanny man? Patty wax? I don't know. Anyway, give the dog a bone. Except it has seasoning. I mean, I guess. But when it comes to breakfasts like these, it's not about being seasoned. It's about having a smorgasbord of food that you eat together so that you get a complex flavor. Like if you're just eating one bite of pancake with nothing else in it, you're failing at breakfast. You get a little bit of pancake, you pick up a sausage, you put a little bit of the fried egg on it, and you eat the whole damn thing. I keep late, I'm doing all right. Always remember sliced bread didn't happen until 1928. Yeah, that makes sense. Because it's easier to make loaves, rolls, and buns than it is to make anything else. It's the min-max high energy food for a late lunch or to skip till dinner. It's a breakfast you have in the morning and you work all day and then you have dinner late at night. That's why there's so much to it and why it's so dense. It's basically the farmer's breakfast. English breakfast implies an empty English breakfast. I mean, I think some places will sometimes have English breakfast and they'll leave out something like the tomatoes or maybe the beans. It fits my lifestyle perfectly. I agree. I usually have meals pretty far between each other if I have more than one meal a day. Half English, half carnival goer breakfast, please. I think that would just be an English breakfast on a pizza. Probably something like that. Or it'd be like this goofy state fair foods where it's like the pizza in a cone, but it's an English breakfast in a cone. They call that scran. Wait, what is scran? Scran breakfast. Breakfast. Wait, that's not giving me an answer. Yeah, that is Scottish scran. Scottish scran. What the fuck is that? That's a website. Scottish scran home. It's like stadium food. Oh. Yeah, this is traditional Scottish food website. Interesting. Interesting, I say. But I'm still looking to see if there's anything else we want to do. Oh, gotcha. Slang for cheap food. Okay. Oh, goodness. What would be another mix of like carnival food and an English breakfast? You don't typically get breakfast at a carnival because they're almost never open early. Even then, the earliest I've ever seen like a carnival or a circus open is like noon at best. At best. Strain and cognac, please. Oh no. Get the squats on. God damn it, Delta. All right, let's do this. Ugh. Hold on, I need a good stretch. It's rewarded foods from the previous day. Oh, that does make sense. Having breakfast at breakfast time? Who does that? Anyway, let's do these squats. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. All right. Boy dinner, cereal at any time but breakfast. I used to do that, but cereals have so much sugar in them that they don't do anything except make you crave more sugar. Also, hold on a second. All right, sorry, I had to fluff my hair. Whew. Okay. I eat high fiber cereals and then add fiber bits in for good measure. Fiber bits? What do you mean by fiber bits? Like, are you throwing fiber optic pieces of cable into your cereal to get better internet speeds? Is this why you're built different, Prof? Yeah, just pure fiber. Oh my god. Oh, you mean like the like powdered fiber? The powdered fiber is what I'm guessing. It's for the chrome. It's part of the chrome. You must feed the chrome. Good lord. I want all the internets. How else would I do it? Sounds like pieces of a t-shirt. Maybe? I think we have too many uses. We have too many uses for the word fiber. Gotta get your RAM flakes. Flakes. How else can we run the Carnival MC server? I thought you ran it. I thought you had a server. I forget, didn't you post it? You posted it to the whole server, didn't you, Sunstar? If you want, you can make a whole announcement in the Discord. You can add fiber to your yogurt to min-max your poops. Oh yeah. Oh yeah, get those min-max poops in there with the fucking not antibiotics, probiotics. There we go. The probiotics of yogurt. My brain is fucking pudding today, dude. 35 minutes of the 100 best meat dishes in Europe? Oh no. Oh no. Oh no, chance. Oh no. Announcements scare me? What do you mean announcements scare you? You have permission. And if you ever consider that you don't have permission, you can always just ask. But, Pudding? Pudding, you say? All right. Chat, we need to figure out what we're going to do today. Otherwise, we're just going to sit here and it's going to be like topic jump, topic jump, topic jump. Or do we actually just want to keep doing that? Do we just want to keep doing that? Is it that kind of day? Hey, yo, more Amsterdam Dutch food? Chats. Chats. Do we need to see what the Dutch have cooking? These are cookies. Cookies aren't bad. Cookies aren't so bad. I wonder. Also, why are my hips like cocked like that? Okay, there we go. They're at least still moving. I just don't know why they're locked that way. That's weird. Anyway. Wait, what? As if I could be antonymous? Antonymous? What? Ship Marin more of those red cookies? They're so expensive, but they're so fucking good. Those red velvet cookies were so fucking good. But it's like, what was it? It was like 6 for $36. Did the internet lie to me again? Oh, I think they were looking for the word autonomous. I think you're right. What? What do you mean, ew? What do you mean, ew? Hi, Kilda. Because my throat hurts? Oh, are you winning? No. No, we are not. Stroopwafel, stroopwafel, stroopwafel. Listen, there's a lot of countries that make stroopwafel, right? It's not just a Dutch thing, right? At least I'm pretty sure. At least I'm fairly certain. Fairly certain. Okay, hold on. I need to... Y'all remember that guy we watched that went to New Orleans that for whatever reason was taking bites that would like basically eat the head off a horse? I keep getting recommended him, and no matter how many times I tell YouTube shit like, fuck off, I don't want this. Oh no, wait, cooking with Haru. Chat. Do any of y'all remember cooking Haru? Eventide Embers, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Someone say Manhattan? No Manhattan. Want to play Monster Hunter with us? Spitball in here? Ooh. Ooh. Gold Gamer Vibes, thank you for the follow. Welcome in too. Where are you two coming from? Kind of Dutch licorice called drop. Oh, pronounced droop. That is salted or droup? Droop or droup? Salted black licorice. My father loves that shit. I know Europeans really love black licorice. I could not get into it. Granted, I did have it like as a kid. And I've yet to have it again since I've grown up. Wait, there wasn't supposed to be peer pressure. I just wanted an excuse to use my favorite Ashley emotes. No, that makes sense. No, I wasn't gonna play Monster Hunter. It's also recently with the performance of playing games on stream, I'm questioning a lot of stuff right now. So, you know, it's concerning. Like yesterday, I looked at the stream analytics after stream, and it wasn't great. Not a lot of people really enjoyed the last report, as it were. I swear I'm the only person who likes black licorice. I completely disagree because I know Sai loves black licorice. Time to open the new Carnival accounts for more streams. Time to make like Makari, who has the More Makari channel, and I'm just over there playing World of Warcraft most of the day. I hate black licorice, but I have photos of my son as a baby eating black licorice ice cream. It's both adorable and horrifying. Oh, the baby likes black licorice ice cream? That's cute. Makari's fantastic. I love Makari. Oh shit, wait a second. Hold on. Let me double check something. I just remembered something. Okay. Is it a bad time to say I don't like any licorice? It's just not for me? Well, no, that makes sense. I mean, there's a lot of variance between licorice. Like, I don't consider red licorice to be even close to the same as black licorice. I like red licorice. Fantastic. Great, even. A delicious candy. But, let's see. I asked earlier, does anybody remember Cooking Haru? They were the channel that does, like, weirdly enough, almost all of their recipes are, like, egg or potato based. But they do, like, the goofy little, like, cooking recipes where they, like, bring in the eggs and act them out like they're a little cartoon. Wild thing was that I got it for him as a joke. He loved it. I hate it. So does my wife. And that was before he met my father, who loves it. Wait, that's hilarious. Hold on. What did I just get? I just got a weird notification I don't recognize. Oh, it's Samsung still constantly open update. Wait, what is this? Okay, that was the contribution. Okay, they contributed $100. Okay. Welcome in, 3Y. How are you doing? Wait, what was that? Black licorice is like... Wait, where's that full message? Like smoking and drinking, do it until you learn to like it. Ugh. I really hate black licorice unless it's an ice cream called Tiger Stripes / Tiger Tail. It's one of my favorite ice creams. Tiger Stripes ice cream. I've never heard of this. Weirdly enough, though, it makes me think of Moose Tracks. Canadian orange flavored ice cream with black licorice swirl. Huh. Is pretty much exclusively found in Canada. I'm much more partial to Moose Tracks though, because it's chocolate and peanut butter cups. It's really good, is it? Huh. Interesting. Why drinking tastes so bad, but be so popular? Cocktails. The answer is cocktails. Do we need to do cocktails today? Do we need to go get how to drink on the phone? Is that what this needs to be? Have you heard of Superman ice cream? It has a flavor most commonly called Blue Moon. I thought Superman ice cream was just red and blue ice cream, vanilla ice cream that's been colored. Oh, that's just crazy colors. The red, blue, and yellow ice cream, that's just crazy colors. It's vanilla, just colored. It's really dumb and basically a gimmick for children. Bubblegum ice cream? We have Moose Tracks ice cream, but the local creamery calls it Duck and Beaver Tracks because the local colleges. That makes sense. Listen, as long as it has peanut butter and ice cream and chocolate in it, I don't give a shit what it's called. That shit, it's going in my fucking mouth. Gonna save that one for later too. The colors of sweaty America? What does that mean? Oh, it's sweaty because the white turned to yellow under the sweat. Known as Smurf in Europe. Blue Moon ice cream? Blue Moon ice cream. Oh, it's turquoise. What flavor is it? Popular in the Midwest, including Wisconsin and Michigan. It elicits various taste comparisons, including Fruit Loops, almond, and citrus, but also has a strong vanilla, marshmallow, fruit, often raspberry, and spice foundation. The exact flavor is unknown because of proprietary recipes, though it's believed to have originated in Milwaukee, Wisconsin in the 1950s. Huh. I've never seen this. But if it's a proprietary recipe, why are there multiple? Do people just attempt to make their own? And so like each one is probably like different in its own way. Right? Probably. I'm guessing. People call it bad, but vanilla ice cream is called vanilla because vanilla is so good it became the benchmark for good teat flavor. Teat flavor? Are you sure? Reverse engineering, not just for machines, super tasters. True. That is the thing. Super tasters are in fact a thing. One ad I keep getting on YouTube is the AI puzzle thing, and it always starts with, only a psychopath can solve this. What? I will never understand why they have decided that ads need to be like absolutely unhinged, because they only just want to makes me want to skip them faster. That's it. That's fucking it. You too could make this favorite ice cream from Enter. Place here, stupid website that doesn't make ice cream that tastes anything like it. Yep. Wait a minute. This woman just made a video on Japan's poverty problem. But you want to know the difference? I just looked at this really quick and kind of moved past it. And she does like this walk around with somebody who's apparently below the certain like poverty standard. But there's a difference. This man has a house. He owns a house. A life in the day of bakers of Norwegian mountains. Save that for later. I'm just vibing to the background music right now. I'm not actually even paying attention. Oh, it's mean. You ain't need to tell me that. Only a psychopath can solve this. We know we ran tests. Don't ask. We lost so much. So much or so many. That's an important distinction. So much or so many. But is his house clean and up to code? Probably not. I don't know what Japan's codes look like, but a glance at it, probably not. The thing is, though, is there's like a difference of poverty of homelessness, poverty of having a house. Not by much. You can still be poor. You can still be poor. I'm broke as dirt and have a house over my roof. Then don't play awesome music in the background. Well, I'm sorry. All right, fine. Here, we'll go turn on, like, I don't know, Coco Melon. What do we want? The rise of piracy in Canada. Canadian piracy, you say? Land rich, money poor. Yep. Sorry, I opened a channel. Because I wanted to see if How to Drink had anything new. He's really on a pirate kick. Like, his last 5 videos have been about pirate stuff. Oh, and Malibu. Malibu rum. Because don't all good stories involve pirates? I would not say all good stories involve pirates. But every story with a pirate is a good story. I do like How to Drink. He's a good bean. I think he's really neat. I think he's a cool dude. A house over your roof, you say? A roof over my head? What the fuck is that, Vequin? Explain. What? What the fuck is that, dude? Don't post fucking more. What the fuck is wrong with you? Don't post more fucking pregos, then don't go over here. Oh, it says it's soup. It's totally just soup. No, 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 no. Fuck that shit. Fuck that shit. You're on your own, kids. Oh my God. Schrackle Fraggle, I swear to God. Why do we suffer? Why are we here? Just to suffer? Can I redo my timeout from earlier? I picked Vequin. All right, Vequin, what do you have to say for yourself? What do you have to say for yourself? It's hard to find good prego emotes, but that slaps. I blame Jane. I blame Jane. That one is entirely Jane's fault. Don't you start writing shit down. Oh, good Lord. Not the fucking Hank Hill laughing. Ooh. Wait, is that? Okay, no, that's not the Hank Hill VTuber. Darn it. Darn it. Oh no. Zero alcohol beer. Ugh. Ugh. We all blame Jane for many things. To be fair, he kind of deserves it at times, especially for that emote. And he kind of does it to himself. He's like, I'm not pregnant. Oh yeah, then why do you have this emote? Yeah, there's a Hank Hill VTuber. And he has the permission from the creator of the original Hank Hill series. Totally worth it. Just the fucking chibi standing there. Does the VTuber play propane and propane accessories games? Not typically. I think he just usually does what he like usually likes. Let me see if I can find him. No. I want to say his name used to be something like Jeremy or Jeffrey or something. Oh, wait, hold on. The Good Jared. That's it. The Good Jared. Why did that link me to a mobile version of his page? But yeah, if you want to go see what he looks like, there you go. There's the shout out for him. Also, we have less than 3 minutes until the ad break starts. I still have not solidified what I want to do. And we are 2 hours in. Oh well. I guess we're just going to sit here and argue all day. What's his name? The Good Jared? Yeah, you're right. Non-alcoholic beer is just rotted water. I completely agree. I will never understand people that buy non-alcoholic beer. He plays retro games? Okay, yeah. Is it always retro games? Beer's gross too. Some like beer and stuff isn't too bad with like certain foods. Like if you have a really fatty food and a beer, it's pretty enjoyable. A burger, pizza, all that stuff. Great combination. Argue about anything? Are you asking if I'm going to let you argue any point you want? Probably not. Probably not. But maybe certain things. Oh my god. WAD Day? World of Darkness? Is that what you're talking about? I agree on non-alcoholic beer being useless except for one scenario I've come across. He can't have alcohol anymore, period, due to his illness. Okay, then why not just make better tasting drinks while he's hanging out with friends or something? Why would you just decide to have a non-alcoholic beer? Okay. Lets them feel included in, I don't know, I guess, I suppose. Look at the Bloodlines 2 news. The thing is there's nothing crazy or exciting with it until they finally like announce what they're going on about. Because they announced that they saw all the feedback on like the DLC for the 2 clans and they were going to reevaluate it. But I don't think they've given a statement on what that change is going to be. Okay. Okay, got it. Non-alcoholic beer was created to make the Mormons feel included in cookouts? I wouldn't fucking doubt it. Found footage horror movies have become absolutely trash lately, and it sucks because it was my favorite genre of horror. I think they've almost always been trash. They are 95% trash, and then occasionally you get like a really good one. And even then, you can nitpick it. You can nitpick it pretty hard. All right, ad break's gonna be starting in a second, you guys. I'm going to run to the bathroom and check on Coco while I give y'all the words on stream. And we'll be back in a few minutes. Sunstar, you're in charge. Okie dokie. What happens? Chad, have y'all ever had those sour grapes? Those like, well, not like regular sour grapes. That was a stupid question. It's like warhead sour grapes. Because apparently my sister, last time she was here, left a bag of them in the freezer, and I just found them. I was like, okay, I want to try these again. Jesus Christ, they fucking hurt. What about cotton candy grapes? I have had those. I don't think they taste like cotton candy at all. They're just overly sweet. They're ridiculously sweet. Actually, you know what? Turn it up. Ah. You know what? I'm going to save this. I'm going to add this. I'm going to add Monster to the liked playlist. Oh, good shit. All right. All right. I heard this song yesterday when I was like at the gym, and I was like, do I dare go look it up so I can listen to it? And I think because I did look it up at one point, that was why that it's now like showing up in the like mixed part. Boo! Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so Jesus. Think of a self-care light. With Naruto? No, don't do it. All right, are you satisfied? Are we good now? Just time to rock out to classic edgy AMV music? That's here, I can do worse. Here, I know what you need. Where is it? Wait for it. See who's gonna call it first. Who's gonna call it first? There you go. 3 Days Grace. What's the name of the song? Animal I've Become. There you go. I remember I heard this song for the first time ever on, I wish I was joking, a Goku versus Vegeta AMV from the perspective of Vegeta. It was all the scenes where Vegeta was in. Actually, I used to have this CD. For the longest time, I had the CD. I don't think I still have it anymore. I think it long since got lost. Oh, good Lord. Escape myself. What the fuck is Plumbus and why is it trending? Oh, it's people just... I'm so confused. Is it... Oh my god, somebody made a cryptocurrency for the Plumbus from fucking Rick and Morty. It's a meme coin. That's it. That's why. God, the number of fucking meme coins people spit out on a weekly basis only to rug pull. I cannot believe people are still falling for it. Okay. Not everything needs a coin. The coins don't need to exist at all. The goon has arrived. Oh my god, it's a 6-star goon. Time to buy meme and diamond hands it. Time to are y'all gonna diamond hands Malvin coin? Is that what this is? Is this gonna be the next this is how we support our streamer. We diamond hands her meme coin and then we can get rug pulled in a week's time when it's like $200 million. Oh my god, the shit I would do with $200 million. The shit I would do with a $650 million. I'd buy some Mountain coin. Listen, is also a collection of Jin AI NFTs on the blockchain. I don't like that combination of words. And I'm pretty sure you can't do all of those things at the same time. More than pump it. Correct. Exactly, fake nudes. Exactly. Exactly. 200 mil, we're all getting gifted subs. You certainly fucking would. And I would close the fucking Ko-fi link. Ko-fi link would be gone. Throne would be gone. We're here to have fun now, kids. We're here to do whatever the fuck we want. No. Skibbities have banned a word here. No skibbities allowed. Megan would get an actual throne. I get one of those like obnoxious thrones that are like that people like try to sell on Etsy for like $10,000. And we stream from that every day. We stream from that throne every day. Listen, with that amount of money, I could have all the cosmetic surgery I wanted. Granted, I wouldn't get things like fucking like buccal fat removal and stuff. Listen, I could buy confidence with that amount of money. That's beyond fuck you money. Like, fuck you money is about 2 million in the bank. Anything more than that is just fucking cherry on top. BBL in 2026? Okay, I would not be getting that. I would just be working out still. You think if I had that much money, I wouldn't get like a house that had a gym space? Honestly, I'd probably build a house, I'm not gonna lie. Hey, I'm building a mid-century, a modern house. I'm gonna have a pool in the back and a cool center courtyard. It's gonna be really neat. No BBL. Don't need BBL when you're working out properly, baby. You only need a BBL if you're, one, you're putting on too much fat in one area and you're sagging. And two, you don't work out and don't have the musculature to raise your own butt. Kurt Warner, thank you for the follow. Welcome in. Why do I know that name? Who's Kurt Warner? Or at least it'd be my first purchase. Just like franchise out an entire ass gem. Stand at the door and tell people to fuck off. I mean, it wouldn't be a bad investment. Honestly, it really wouldn't. I'd buy a neighborhood, then buy a house for every day of the week? No, listen, I am not that, what's the word? Insane? That's a nice boat. That is a nice boat. Yeah, it's Brazilian butt lift. But, where was I going with this? Oh, hold on. I also need to change it back to the playlist. Fuck it. ZZ Top it is. I would go full tech routes. What do you mean full tech routes? Give myself a health, start working on my gun collection and go to the firing range in my free time. I do kind of want to start like going to a firing range, but I need to see if the firing range will let you like rent guns because I want to know how to use a gun more than I already do. make an Iron Man suit? Y'all are over here being like really like kind of just throwing your money at whatever. Not even the billionaires can make an Iron Man suit. That's how much of a science fiction it currently is. Today on Pumping Iron Weightlifting Channel, secrets of the Brazilian butt lift. Do some fucking squats and glute workouts, dude. I'm taking over Google, or like, you couldn't take over Google with 200 million. You couldn't even come close to taking over Google with 200 million. Marrying with a gun is a solution, is a problem with no foreseeable solutions. Not a problem for us. It's for shitty people. Maybe. Hi, Natsu. How are you doing? What trouble are you getting into? I know. Listen. Listen. I'm tired. Relatable, dude. Relatable. George Clooney has a spy satellite. I would get a bigger one. George Clooney has a what? Is that from a movie? I don't think that's real. That can't be real. Oh. Oh. The Satellite Sentinel Project. Conceived by George Clooney and Enough Project co-founder John Prendergast during their October 2010 visit to South Sudan. Through the use of satellite imagery, SSP provides an early warning system to deter mass atrocities in a given situation by focusing world attention and generating rapid responses to human rights and human security concerns taking place in the situation. You know what? I like this. This is actually a good thing. They made basically a fucking satellite array that is basically just like, we're not going to let you get away with it because we have the footage here. Don't think it works? Oh, here it is. Limits to effectiveness. Patrick Meyer, a crisis mapping expert, has observed that the determinant value of the surveillance is diminished in the absence of consequences for the perpetrators of violence. Specific to Sudan, other technologies such as drones are necessary to differentiate threats from nomads in order to generate actionable information. Wait, his wife is a... Wait, I don't think they've been married for a decade. Oh, it has been a decade. I thought I remembered him like recently. Like renting out like what? Venice? Wasn't it Venice? Yeah, Amal Clooney is a British international human rights lawyer. What do we have? Represented several high-profile clients, including former Maldivian President Mohamed Nasheed, WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange, former Ukrainian Prime Minister Yulia Tymoshenko, Yazidi human rights activist Nadia Murad, Filipino-American journalist Maria Ressa, Azerbaijani journalist Khadija Ismailova, and Egyptian-Canadian journalist Mohamed Fahmy. Damn. Damn. Anyway, Venice was Bezos. Hold on. George Clooney wedding. Wedding location. Venice, Italy at the Amman Canal Grand Hotel. I thought I remember seeing that shit on the news. Because there's like a picture and a video of them being in like a nice wooden boat on what is definitely one of the Venice canals. I can't believe I remember that. I can't believe that was 2014. Jesus. What the fuck? Hold on, I gotta bully Jane. Okay. Time to bully Jane. No. Enter. George Clooney really trying to become Batman with a satellite, isn't he? It wasn't necessarily to become Batman. It was for human rights groups. Oh. Oh my. Okay. It was basically, it seems like the goal was essentially to have an eye on like human atrocities that were being taken place so that they couldn't just get away with it. Which, honestly, not a bad goal. Really not a bad goal. They wanted to use a satellite for Coney 2012, but it was not strong enough. Watch the internet historian video on it. I suppose that not being strong enough kind of makes sense. Kind of makes sense. Especially because it's basically a civilian satellite. So like, how good could the machinery be? Oh, that's a plague tale. Okay. Okay. When you try to electric eye atrocities, but just end up creating World Star for war criminals? Well, I don't think that's necessarily what it did. It was that, like, it wasn't good enough to get details, is likely what it was. And it's often satellites can get views, but then more often than not afterwards, they use drones and stuff. Oh my. Somebody added actual IRL jiggle thigh physics to their 3D model, and it actually looks pretty decent. It's better than the weird jiggly jello ass thighs that some people get on their 2D models. That shit is so weird. Resist impulse to stick hand in forbidden hole challenge, and it's the needles biohazard box at a hospital. Are you insane? I hate everything about that. The Principality of Xeon did nothing wrong? What? Absolutely not. No way in hell. Okay. My brain is too far gone. I enjoy the crazy Nikki jiggles. I don't because they're insane. They are way too overtuned. That's why it's forbidden hole. It's more than forbidden hole. You're not gonna. Listen, I have to give myself an injection once a week. Once a week on Mondays. And one time I was trying to take the cap off the needle and I did it too fast and it got snagged. It came out of the cap, but it got snagged on its own packaging. And I poked the tip of my own finger and that bitch hurt so bad. The flag is the only thing I could not stand. It reminds me too much of the dictatorship I could not mention to avoid political issues on Twitch. You know. You know. It's like the Forbidden Gusher Tide Pod. Those are not the same. Those are not even close to the same as getting poked with needles on purpose. Or potentially sticking your hands unknowingly into a box full of sharps. Oh, I hate that. I hate that so much. The voices will never get me to do that. Not even a little bit. Insanity. Insanity. Oh, that's VR chat. I thought I was looking at an actual movie theater for a second. Damn, that was a pretty detailed fucking... Interesting. How are you doing, Light? My brain is too far gone. I enjoyed the crazy Nikki jiggle. Oh, no. Oh, no. don't like that wiggle. I don't like that wiggle. I'm squirming you. Did it? What? Congrats, I'm squirming. You did it. You finally did it. I hate that image. I hate it too. I fucking hate it too. Looks like a mafia boss within a more magical, like, arcade. Wonderful hairstyle, by the way. Enjoy the way. What are we even talking about? This jiggle wiggling y'all keep on mentioning? Oh no, that was just the emote. That was the emote that Light put. I don't like that. I don't like that little wiggling. I don't like that emote. I don't like that emote. Wiggle jiggling. Wiggle jiggle. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I got a scar on the tip of my finger because I put my hand in a drawer when I was a kid without knowing it was full of... Oh, I hate that. I hate that too. Reinstall Helldivers because it won't launch. Did you find out it fully installs faster than 100 megabytes to get applied? Damn, how good your fucking internet... Hi, Ellie. What are you doing? What trouble are you getting into, Ellie? What shenanigans are you up to? What the fuck? Oh, okay. Sorry, I was looking at some of the other things. I was checking Blue Sky. All you need now is a knife and a magnetic glove? Are those a thing? Are magnetic gloves a thing? I don't think they are. Helldivers, for some reason, I think verifies the entire game on any updates, so it takes fucking hours. And if you interrupt it, it has to start all over. Oh. Oh, that may happen. About the knife one? Oh. More than Mafia Boss reminds me more of Junker Queen from Overwatch. If she had a refined skin, she has her same badass and is not enough. Look at those guns. I mean, for the summer outfit, we're planning on adding guns. You know, flexing guns. We're adding muscles. This one was actually supposed to have more muscles to it, but when I came to the artist after he did like the base, he didn't want to change it. He didn't want to change the like clothes that he'd already sketched over the top of the body. Technically, if Rin also hadn't gotten rid of like the nude model that was supposed to be underneath this model would have abs, which is also why like the corset and stuff looks like it's pudgy, was because that's from the original sketch layer that they made. I know you didn't mean guns and muscles, but I was making the bit in this case. You had hang there on the wall? Yeah, hold on. My sniper rifle and my 2 handguns? They're modified 1911s. Even if the emote for some reason has a oval shaped output, which I still think is very funny. Which I still think is very funny. As all junkers in Overwatch? Maybe? Maybe? What the fuck? U.S. government orders 46 states to destroy trans education material. What? Was this today? Demanding that almost every state in the U.S. remove sex education materials referencing trans and non-binary people. Threatens to rescind federal funding for educational institutions in at least 46 states and U.S. territories if they did not comply with the order. Who are they not forcing to do this? Who's not on the list? I need to know. Like, Alabama is on the list. Which is kind of funny. because it's not relevant to a health class. So you should be teaching abstinence. Ah, yes, abstinence only is back, kids. We all know how well that worked. I want to see if they list. I just want to see who they didn't list. There's 46. 46 are on the list. Wait. Early August. Well, okay, this is now they're on to the Smithsonian part for some reason. Okay, I don't think I want to do that. I don't think I want to ruin the day with jumping right into politics. Over course obsessed over the fact that the Minneapolis. The thing was that she was a detransitioner based on her posts and her own personal journal. Well, technically, it was like their journal apparently said things like how he didn't want to give up the haircut because it felt like defeat, but that he doesn't think that he was trans anymore. But they're completely ignoring that. But it is I wouldn't say it's a running joke in this case it's the detransition to alt-right pipeline, or the occasional trans meme that's there are two paths in front of you, and one side is alt-right and the other one is cute little cat girl. You missed! The orange alien is at it again. The orange alien is always at it. Walk around, trips on barrel, and barrel rolls down and explodes. Shit! What do you mean? Abstinence only education, yet why is birth rate low? Also in modern day, that just means the internet teaches sex ed. Yep. Yep. But what is this? Buffin Fluff Shop? What is this? Oh, okay. This is just a particular artist merch shop. Okay, I thought it was like... My brain was like, are they making like merch that with like sizes for like really buff people? But... Wait, where was that? An endless barrage of unwanted dicks? Yeah, it's pretty fucking close. Thanks, John. Like the Carnival merch store? Yeah, the Carnival merch store. Although, hold on, let me double check something. I think I actually do have news on that really quick. You just reminded me. Yeah, we're no longer doing international shipping, apparently. If you go to VT Horizon is no longer doing international shipping. Okay. I'm not self-aware of my own surroundings. What do you mean? The barrels? Is it the barrels? But I'm international. I know you're international, Sunstar. I know you are. If you're outside the United States, well, probably the contiguous United States. I don't even know if Alaska and Hawaii are exempt from this. Yeah, apparently because there's a bunch more stuff going on with shipping shenanigans. It's kind of crazy. No. Hold on, who is this? Hold on, I need to look somebody up real quick. Joey Manarino, who are you? You did not say your occupation in here. Oh no. Hi, Ordine. Okay, yeah. I don't want to read that. I don't want to read that out loud. I don't want to read that out loud. How much would shipping Wiggle Baby keychains be now? God, who knows? It was... I forget. When I tried to ship you one, I don't remember what they told me it was. Was it $17 or something like that? Or was it way more? I fucking can't remember. I feel like there was a 7 in there. But when I tried to ship even just like these tiny keychains that I still have on my desk, like it didn't, and I still, you style a knife? What is up with everybody spelling today? Over $100? Was that the total cost? I thought it was like 70. I don't remember. I remember being annoyingly expensive to the point where I just ordered you a whole new set. So I think you have what? Do you have 3 or do you have 5? I forget. I think I ordered the minimum number I could from the manufacturer to Cindy, which I think was like 3 or 5. One of those two. Needles for vaccination are fine. It's for blood samples is damn torture. It's not enough to pain. Makes your muscles toughen up instinctually so a shot might go wrong and has to do it again. Huh? Wait, why are we on about needles still? Then I heard 100 plus. I don't know. Yeah, 3 keychains. I know I put the number in our messages when we were talking about it. I just don't remember what it was. The fuck did I miss? No, I scrolled across a post that was somebody calling the biohazard sharp box at like a hospital the forbidden hole to stick their hands into, which I will never understand. Okay. Okay. I was only gone for 1 hour. What the fuck? A lot happened in that hour. A lot of things can happen in that hour, especially when you're kind of riding the, what do you call it? The brainwaves? We're going to go with brainwaves. There was a Taiwanese influencer who got into huge trouble in Cambodia last year for making a kidnapping. Sending the keychains by the supplier was $15. Shipping them yourself was cheapest still, over $100. Yeah, I think that's what it was. Yeah, it was, how many did I send you though? I just don't remember the amounts. Because it was Grace that sent it for me. For faking a kidnapping. Jesus, that is, what is it? That is, I can't think of the word. Oh, nuisance. That's it. That's what I was thinking of. Nuisance streamers. That's the phrase I was looking for. Hold on a second. All right. Alrighty then. If you want interesting news that's happy, you should check out the Good News Network. They have tons. Good News. Isn't that a TikTok channel? Oh no, they do have a website. Solar-powered cars race across Australian outback with fins to also harness the wind. Ooh. Rugby player turned quadriplegic completes incredible recovery by summiting unconquered Asian mountain. Okay. Ooh. Newly uncovered Roman mosaic depicts what appears to be flip-flops at the bottom of a pool. That's really funny. Is there anything else? I want world news. I want uplifting world news. Historic church, all 672 tons, is being moved down the road in Arctic Town. Rich and Wiggle Baby keychains? You got plenty of Wiggle Baby keychains, do you? Joy and relief as lotus flowers bloom again in Kashmiri Lake after 3 decades. Ooh. Okay. Uh-oh. Camel Milk Revolution is improving nutrition in Somalia and creating jobs. Ugh. Listen, I'm all for improving nutrition, but the creating jobs at the end is just like, ugh, okay, I guess. I guess. Where is Benin? Benin? Oh, Africa. Oh, I should have known this. It's literally right next to Burkina Faso. I was literally looking at that map yesterday. But 1 Mountain, please, and a Diet Coke. Sorry, we don't have Diet Cokes. Only regular Cokes. Camel milk. Yeah, camel milk. What else would it be? What else would we be doing? Okay. Water down my Coke? Are you gonna water down your Coke? Is that what you're asking for? Does that mean you want ice or do you want no ice? Do you want no ice with water or do you want ice and just wait for the ice to melt? Can I have a milkshake instead? Okay, but we only have cookies and cream. There is only cookies and cream. Then I'll have twice as much Coke. That's a fair point. That is a fair point. But is this a gun or is it cake? It proceeds to put whole gun in mouth. Jesus. I was not ready for that. I was not expecting something like that. Not even a little bit. Do you have beer? Then can I have some? Are you asking me if I have beer? I do not. I know there's beer in our fridge, but I ain't gonna touch it. That's somebody else's. And it's Dos Equis. God forbid. God forbid. Oh, okay. This is just a person seemingly fucking retweeting literally everything that they've ever posted. Okay. Jesus. That took forever to scroll past. Oh, okay. Chocolate shakes, if any, nope, cookies and cream only. It is cookies and cream only. I prefer flat soda, no pesky carbonation, no need for ice. I'm not gonna lie, I think non-carbonated sodas are pretty good. Ordain, what are you doing? What is the deal? What's the problem? What's wrong? Do you need to talk about it? Guns? Wait, why are you pointing guns at me? Is it because I keep getting distracted? Is that why? Is that why? Broth, are you still here? I don't know if Broth is still here. I don't think he is. The man moves fast. The man comes and goes as best as he can. Oh man, Soul's emote is so good. All right. You good, bud? You talking to Ordain? Is Ordain just gonna keep food? What food? I haven't eaten today. I actually tried to go see what the leftovers in the fridge were, and I couldn't tell what it was. So I took a bite and I didn't like it. I don't know what it was, but it tasted weird. It looks like it had like bread and pieces of broccoli and I think chicken in it. And then when I took a bite, it was not great. Not fantastic. Not in the mood for empty stomachs. Hold on. What do you mean, hold on? What do you mean, hold on? Okay. Hold on a second. Pancake waffle takes? What does that mean? What does pancake waffle takes mean? Flat? Is that what it means? Are these just flat takes? But the glue is filling? No glue beef? Glue beef? Oh, you're telling beef you don't want glue. Okay. Okay. Wins? Thank you for the dono. Well, technically buying me a meal thing. Thank you. I was like, are you going to Throne instead of Kofi? That was going to be my next question. But then I was like, I'll just wait it out. We'll just wait it out and see. If I ever get a Snickers and it doesn't... Oh my God, it's a Snickers quote. Oh my God. God damn it. I need to figure out... Probably after the move is when we'll figure out what to do about, like, making goofy as shit merch or anything like that. Tweaking out, I need to invent the good news. I suppose. Listen, sometimes we need the good news, okay? Because goddamn is it... Currently, the internet is a fucking hellscape. I'm closing this. I don't want to keep looking at this shit. Get this out of here, too. All right. I'll make it myself, goddammit. Gonna wash down the glue here, Ordain. Is that juice? Is that Joos? Oh my goodness. All billionaires are dead? I wish. I wish, dude. Can we start with politicians? Can we start with American politicians? Again, like designated survivor style. Just make it happen. Wait for the next, what is it? What's it called? State of the Union, that's it. State of the Union, when everybody's in the same building. Or didn't get the tools of the trade, we're making the good news ourselves. Oh no. Oh no. All right. All right though, guys. I have some bad news. My energy is completely drained again. So we're gonna raid out. I'm gonna go get something to eat and see if that picks me up. And we are gonna raid Izzy. Izzy is currently playing with Amy. They're playing No Man's Sky. I think they had a big update or something for No Man's Sky like today or yesterday. We didn't really, it doesn't feel like we really did a whole lot. We just kind of yapped for 3 hours. But I'm going to go figure out what I'm going to eat. I don't know, maybe I'll get pizza or something just to try and make myself feel better. But I don't think I really have a raid message, so we'll just do the brulee one again. Or we could do something like sappy. Do I dare do something sappy? Nah, I think I'm just gonna go get pizza at that brewery I went to. I think that's what I'm gonna do. F Twitch, F Twitch. Mandatory feeling better, divert all carnival resources. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. But until then, guys, we have Mage tomorrow, 11 a.m. And then we don't have Vampire this weekend, so that's basically it for this weekend. And we'll be back Monday. If I have a spontaneous time and I feel better come sometime this weekend and there's nobody home, we may do a surprise stream. We will see what happens. But until then, thank you for being here. Thank you for being awesome. And thank you for enjoying the show, guys. I'm sorry we didn't really do much of a show, but thank you for yapping with me. Good night.